Decon! Oh,
Well, we started.
good job.
So what? All right.
I said good job.
All right, hey guys. Welcome to another episode of Nightmare Road. I, of course, am your host, Decon, here with a very, very magical.
Flower!
That's not who I was referring to.
Ashley Oracle.
Right? And today's episode is brought to you by
The Silver Witch and wait, I'm gonna not pronounce it right. You do it. Sorry.
Loot by Lottie. So you guys can
You forgot the
go ahead.
part.
There's a link. There'll be a link on the video, so you guys can go ahead and order your guys a mystery box, which is if you guys don't know what's in it, one of the examples is the Oracle here. Actually, did an unboxing, so you guys can so you guys can go ahead and check out all the cool items that are in there. And every box is different. It's unique, so
Oh, I'm
you know
wearing
it's
some of it right now.
yeah. See, there you go. Oh, look at that.
Oh, sorry, I didn't really show it very well. My bad.
Yeah, so that what you're wearing actually protects you against the evil eye. So,
Huh,
and
flower.
hexes and all
Sorry,
that kind
she
of
wants
stuff.
to be
So,
she wants to be part of the show.
it,
I'm sorry.
geez. So on there, you guys can go ahead, and there'll be a link in the description, so you guys can go ahead, and if you guys send the message to Lottie with Lucky Loot, you guys get 10% off your first box. So, yeah,
Yeah.
and we like that. Anyway, so that is it. So also remember, guys, to like and subscribe for more of this nonsense. All right, so today's episode, what are we doing the episode on today?
Well, okay. First off, though, I had something happen at work today that I'd like to discuss.
Go
So
ahead.
I I work in an office, okay? And well, okay, I work in insurance. I need to say this part for the story. I work in insurance, okay, guys? So we have this guy call the office today. And being in Idaho, living in Idaho, no offense to you guys in California, but we're very different from you guys and we just don't get along very well. So this guy
Yeah,
just
we love
happens to
America.
be, exactly, this guy just happens to be from California. Okay. So my coworker's talking to him and he tells her, well, I just don't even understand why I'd have an agent. So she's kind of taken aback by this statement, kind of like, okay. And he goes, as far as I'm concerned, everybody that works at an insurance agency is just an old dinosaur. So I got
Then what
called a
happens?
dinosaur today.
Oh, oh, that's it? Well, you're not a dinosaur. You're
Well, I
very
really thought about
useful.
calling him back and being like, "Rar, this is your agent speaking."
You say roar?
You gotta roar like
Uh,
a dinosaur. If you're gonna accuse me of being a dinosaur, might as well roar like one too, right?
yeah, I guess that makes sense. Who am I to judge?
Well,
Um,
this guy thinks he can
I
judge
thought
and call me a dinosaur.
you can damn. I You should add a little bit more like spice to that story. Just give it a little bit more spiciness. So
Oh,
yeah,
I'm not
and
allowed to
let me
be
teach you.
spicy at work.
No, not okay. So like for example, or some zest. So whenever somebody tells you a story and the story is not like, let's say you finish the story and then somebody's like, and they're
Judging me,
waiting for
sir?
more. Okay, would you let me finish, please?
No.
So, all right, what do I know? Um, so what? So if you end every story like, and then what happened, and then you're like, so I fucking stabbed them, then then that adds a little bit more excitement. Like it doesn't matter the whole, you know.
I mean, if
So
I could
so
stab half the people that I come across throughout the day, I would be in prison for a long time.
okay, but okay, let's revisit the story. We're gonna take it away from everybody that works in insurance is an old dinosaur. So okay, so we're gonna play that. Okay, here we go.
What?
You're gonna take it back, take the story back to,
I'm not
and then he
gonna
said
retell
everybody
it.
that works.
That's what you were expecting right now? That's not happening. I'm
Yeah,
way too lazy for that.
retell it. Fine, I'll take over the story
You
and I'll retell
you
it.
just take over
So
and I'll just listen and drink my smoothie. I'm too lazy for that shit.
so it was like everybody that works in insurance is an old dinosaur. So go ahead and say like, then what happened?
I'm gonna stab you in the face.
Well, that's not. Anyway, so today's episode is on scary stories. So it doesn't matter
It's fine.
that's it. Yeah. So all right. So when it comes to scary stories, hold on, I gotta talk to my dog here. Roland, keep it down. So
Bring Rowan
anyway,
on.
no, jackass. So anyway, so with scary stories is such a big part of our culture, and it's actually a part of everybody's culture. That doesn't matter what part of the world you're from. There's always some kind of scary tale or some kind of yarn that they spin. That
Normally.
and it's just the what?
I said normally, yes.
I don't think there's a civilization out there, at least that I know of, that doesn't have some kind of like scary story that they tell, like part of their culture.
That's true. There's gotta be somewhere though. I'm gonna find it and prove you wrong just 'cause.
Oh, right now?
No, not right now.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, well, you can look it up, see it, make sure I'm not full of shit. So anyway, like for example, with me growing up, whenever the power went out, this is in the country of my parents. So whenever the power would go out, and we would sit around, and the adults would tell scary stories by candlelight. And
Oh, my parents didn't do that.
the what?
My parents didn't do that. It was like, oh, power's out. Go entertain yourselves.
Yeah, that we tell. And it's such a part of the culture too, because you got to remember that a lot of these stories, they're not just stories. Like I've covered it before. We have older episodes of folklore from El Salvador, you know, and I tell scary stories of like growing up. So, like for example, um, we had a teacher in school, and our teacher would be like, "Oh, by the way, boys, last night I heard La Carreta Bruja and it was going through town. So make sure that when it's dark,
Hmm.
don't be outside. Stay in the house." And this is like an important lesson because people believed it. It's like so ingrained in the culture that something like that. If imagine if you were a teacher in this culture and you were to tell the kids, by the way, don't say Bloody Mary 3 times in front of the mirror, in the bathroom with the lights off. You know, pe- people would laugh at you and they would
I
ridicule you.
mean, you probably shouldn't, but I have. Whoops.
You you have.
Used to do it in the junior high school bathroom before dance every morning.
We used to look in
Just 'cause.
well, that's I was gonna say when Michael Jackson died, but when Michael Jackson died, I think I was like 20. So I was like, yeah, you look into the bathroom mirror and then you say beat it 3 times in the mirror in the dark.
No,
And if
that's
you're a boy,
scary.
Michael Jackson comes out, he twerks on you. Anyway, so
Gross.
yeah, so anyway, so tell us. So you did Bloody Mary. what happened? Did anything interesting happen?
No, nothing happened because it was a bunch of stupid junior high school girls doing their makeup before school and then just being dumb. So it wasn't like when we were doing it, we believed that something was gonna happen. You know what I mean?
So, do you believe that you have to actually believe it for something to happen? Like
Not
the toll,
necessarily. But if you have a
like
bunch of girls just being dumb like we were, I mean, if I was Bloody Mary, I wouldn't have wanted to visit us. I have shit that happens in my house all the time that I don't intend to happen.
hmm,
You
damn,
know this. My house is fucking fucked.
no, because you do hear that kind of stuff. Like you hear that people do it and they don't believe, and then they're like, "See, nothing happened." And then you get
Well,
people that believe with with every fiber of their being that something's going to happen, and they have an experience to tell. Like, so what happened? It's like, well, the
it's
candle blew out.
like our conversation almost with that the paranormal hunters guy that we had on a few shows ago. I can't remember his
Yeah,
name right now, forgive me. But you have the seers and then you have the people that don't see, hear anything. So if you have a seer in front of the mirror saying Bloody Mary 3 times, then yeah, probably something's gonna happen.
you think you think they'll conjure something up, like something on the other side of the mirror is going to be like, oh,
Oh hell yeah.
see, that's interesting because
Quit being a skeptic. God damn
well, okay. So,
it.
do you think that a lot of that kind of stuff is like the Tolpa effect? Because, if you put enough thought into it, you can bring something into being. Just like the
Something
Slender Man,
probably.
just like the whole
Ah,
Slender Man thing.
freaking Slender
Like,
Man, dude.
because it was part of a creepy pasta, right? Online.
Hmm.
And then you get people that swear by it. Like, dude, I saw a,
Yeah, those
a,
two girls murdered their friends. Or their friend.
a,
Or tried to? No, they didn't murder her,
a
did they?
no, I think that they tried and they did stab her, but she survived. They stabbed her like
Yeah,
over
I think.
40 times
Yeah, all because of Slenderman. But
because they said that Slenderman was talking to them, right? Or like Slenderman was
yeah,
talking to us, and the,
something to that
so
effect. I haven't read that case for a long time. I'm gonna have to relook into that.
and a lot of people were saying shit like, "Do you think that they actually believe in Slenderman?" It's like, well, they thought that Slenderman was communicating with them, and they went as far as to stab one of their friends multiple times.
Hmm. Well, it's
Like they
almost
gotta
like
have.
the back room theory too. I like to compare Slenderman to the back rooms. You have all of these people dreaming of these back rooms. Well, how do we know it's just all these people are hearing the same story and so they're dreaming of the same shit?
Oh, that's interesting. So you think that's
Hmm.
something like with enough belief, something steps through the
Yeah,
portal? Oh,
something was
that's
created.
see, wow, that's interesting. See, I
But if you look at the back rooms, like the original thing that was made on YouTube for it, like, I mean, if you truly look at it, that can be anywhere. It looks like any office place. It's nothing special. So anybody could dream of a place like
huh? I guess I never looked too much into the back room. So what's the
that. Me
description?
neither.
It's the
Look into it
same. Yeah, huh, I guess so. So we
more.
could even
So
do
it's
an
just
episode.
these people that they're going into like their jobs or they're just going into their some other room in their house and they open the door and they go into this place and they call it the back rooms and it's literally just a maze of hallways and different empty rooms.
Oh, okay. I
Hmm.
guess I did hear a couple of stories like that. One of
Yeah.
them was an individual was staying in a hotel, and he gets up because he swears he hears a knock on the. You have a cat there. He swears he hears a knock on his door, And then he opens the door, right? And there's no one there. And then he's like, all right, what the hell? So he's like,
Mm-hmm.
somebody's pulling a prank on me. He said, so he gets out of the room. He goes over and walks around the only corner that there is. So he goes around and he's like, all right, no one's there. So he turns around and instead of being like the door and the wall, it's now a long corridor.
Yeah.
And then he's trying to figure out like where the hell is my room? And eventually he starts realizing that the room numbers are non-existent. Like there's no
Mm-hmm.
room numbers there.
There's
So
nothing there.
so then he's going through these hallways, and it sounds like someone's behind him, like trying to talk to him. And then he goes up and he says that it doesn't look human. It looks weird. It doesn't have like it moves inhumanly, and now it begins
Mm-hmm.
to chase him. So he's running through these hallways, trying out doors. And when he reaches the, it's almost like the handles on the doors were like painted on.
It
You know,
almost sounds like a skinwalker.
do you think so?
Mm-hmm.
So he's going through these doors, and then finally, he's reaching out at these doorknobs to see if one of them's open. There's no knob, so finally he opens one that and when he steps through, he more like falls through, and then his wife that was in the room just starts laughing. She's like, "What'd you do, fall?" And then he's like, "You know, what'd you do, fall?" And then he was talking about
Awesome.
how
You freaking
Roland,
idiot. What are you doing?
yeah, so like, "What'd you do, fall?" Whatever. And then he was like, so, he's trying to tell her like everything that happened, and she's like, "What are you talking about? You went in, you looked through the door, you were in here in like 30 seconds." He's like, "No, I've been running for like hours." And she's like,
I
"No,
would have been like, how drunk are you? And how much more do I need to have to be on your level?
oh, can you imagine?" Or like, "Let's go explore these endless hallways together."
No, that's a really bad idea.
So anyway, so just something like that, right? So that's like a
Yeah.
back room,
I would be
man.
that
So
person that would just be like, stick to it.
yeah, doo-doo-doo, just
Don't
like
let me
wandering
lose
through.
like that ever.
And then
That's bad.
the shadow people on the other side are like, this person doesn't even give a shit. They've been skipping for hours. Um,
Hmm.
all right, so do you got any scary stories loaded up?
I found one on Reddit.
Ooh, let's hear it. Basically, that was a scary
Um,
story what I just told.
I mean, you're just scary in general. Who I want to make sure I give credit
That's
to who it's by. Let me grab my little mousey here. No, we gotta give credit to who wrote it. Come on now. Elon. All right, guys, I'm a little slow. I guess I'm a little unprepared. What's new? Um, I don't know who it's by. It looks like their name was deleted, but
ooh,
that's
makes it
weird.
creepier.
Well, it's called Haunted Cabin Behind My House. So this
Oh, okay.
person on Reddit says this is a relatively old story that my dad has told me a few times over the years, but with Halloween coming up, it's been on my mind again. Wish it was Halloween. I myself have never been able to witness the house, though the description I've been given by multiple men 20 something years after seeing it gives me a very vivid mental image. To begin, I would like to mention that my father is a highly religious man. He's a preacher's son and does not believe in ghosts or anything paranormal in the slightest. Oh, another skeptic. Nothing seems to spook him either, but he still swears up and down that he felt something unnatural that scared the shit out of him, even just from mentioning the story to me on the rare occasion that he would bring it up. Back in the late 80s, I almost said 1880s.
Like in the old
Back in the late
1880s. Oh, Jedediah.
back in my day, back in so back in the late 80s, back in Decon's day, he and a few friends would regularly hike over the Waterfall Creek bed behind our farm and would follow the trails up until they eventually met the frontage road off the interstate. Well, one night they decided to take a different route to go around the back side of another farmer's land. mostly to see the animals because they owned emus and other large pets that weren't common in the local area. Screw emus or emus.
Emos.
Have you ever been
Oh,
around an
life is
emu?
so hard. I've been around emos.
An emu, the bird.
Yes.
I remember I had a friend in school that had emus and they were really mean.
Yeah,
Okay,
they can
so
get pretty aggressive.
yeah, no thanks. Okay, so supposedly after leaving the area and continuing into the woods at night of all times, they managed to stumble upon what is described by all five men as a Blair Witch look-alike house. It was a
Ooh.
very old home, and my dad claims that looking at it gave him the ominous feeling, but of course they have to go inside and check it out because who doesn't do that? So inside the house, it was a
I
vintage
don't.
cottage style home. You pansy, come on, you gotta go inside. Just see what it is.
No,
This
because
is why
what
I
if
would
you're on
die in a
private
horror
pro?
movie.
Yeah, well, yeah. What if you're on private property and you walk in there? It's like it's the Blair Witch in here, and the last thing you see is somebody unloading on you with a rifle.
Well, that's why you make sure no one's in there first. But this home
How would
was
you
built
know?
in, you knock on the door, look in the windows, peer in all ninja-like, use your voice,
That's you.
say hello,
Oh, all right.
use your words.
Use them. Let's keep moving.
So house was probably built in the late 40s or early 50s, and the group was instantly met with writings and strange symbols in Latin like languages with a few English graffiti pieces that quoted a supposed satanic or pagan worshiping ritual. Why do they have to put those two things together when they're so different? With certain claims to this day that certain symbols were painted on the walls in blood, while others were clearly spray paint. And I find it easier to believe because he also worked as a firefighter for years before this happened. So, in the story, it says when you go past this small living kitchen area, there's a stairwell, and it was so small that their shoulders like brushed the sides so you wouldn't fit. The stairs went
Me?
straight and stopped. Yeah, if their shoulders are brushing the sides of the wall, what do you think yours are gonna do?
I don't know.
Okay, then. You're not gonna fit. But these
What if
stairs
I go like
went
this?
straight like that. You might have to go sideways. Make a complete yes. There you go.
That's how you know it's an old house because when you look at old houses like from the 1800s, they're narrower because people were a lot smaller because they didn't get as much food. You know,
Oh, that's kind of
so
actually sad.
yeah, that's why
Well,
when you look
anyway.
at,
Wait, what?
geez, hey, oh, I said that's why when you look at, for example, hotels that were built in like 1901 or something like that are super old and they have a staircase and they're usually spiral. You walk and then you're like, how the hell? And you're like, then it's like, well, people were smaller back then.
You know, it reminds me of this old apartment building I lived in Coos Bay. There was this one staircase that even like
You know,
I was like this, and I'm a small person.
yeah, you're
So if I
tiny.
can barely fit, there's not a lot of people that's gonna fit.
Um,
No.
damn. So what attracted them to this location, to this house? Was it just the way that it looked?
That's what it sounds like. But they said when like they would try to like walk a different route in the forest in this paragraph here, but they always ended up at this house.
Huh. Okay, that's
So for
interesting.
yeah, for some odd reason, there was some they were drawn to this house. But
Hmm.
so over the years they've been trying to do a scientific explanation for this, and they still can't. But It says the final time that the guys went back to the house, they found themselves standing at the front door of the house and they began to feel physically ill and they were on the verge of being feverish. Well, they finally decided that it was time to give up when one of them nearly fainted. And when they turned to leave, they looked up, and at the circular window of the front of the house on the second story, there was a tall female figure hunched
Phenomena.
over, hunched over, standing in the window, watching them. Though they see no features on her, her face they saw no features on her face other than two large, dark colored eyes, and the figure sort of shuffled in place slightly before it turned and walked away. And so at the sight of this figure, they all took off running into the woods. And every time they went back to that house, that figure would be in that exact same spot doing the exact same thing. And then they eventually stopped going back to the house. But for 20 years after they had this experience at this house, they all still tell the same story the exact same way.
Oh, that's interesting. You know
Right?
what movie is creepy is the Blair Witch because of the story of the Blair Witch. Do you remember how we made the kids each
I'm
stand,
obsessed with that movie.
facing the corner while she like murdered them one by one, and
Yeah, but
and
that
at the
movie
end,
makes me angry
why?
because they tell you that it's not like they make it out like it's this true story the whole time you're watching it, and then it ends up not being one. It just
Yeah,
pisses me off because I want it to
no,
be.
like the found footage. Well, I mean, they're
Yeah,
going
I
off
wanted
of
it to be real.
well, you don't know if it's. I mean, of course, it's not real, but you don't know if the version that they did it, with the whole running around, you don't know if they heard that from someone. You know what I mean? So maybe they're trying to
Yeah,
recreate the experience for the viewer. You really want people to be murdered and for to be filmed? Like, what's wrong with you? Go watch a cartel video. Um, no, but the creepy thing about that movie is that towards the end, you see like grown men, and the last thing you see is somebody facing the corner, and it's like, what makes them do that? Like,
uh, crazy people.
no, I mean, because the story was that the Blair Witch would have the children each face each corner while she murders them one by like basically, you wait your turn, I'll kill you next. You know, yeah, basically that's what it is. And then that was the story. It's like, and then you wonder, you're like, wait a minute. So each kid stood facing the corner as she killed them, right? And then at the end, they're in the house with the Blair Witch, and then they can't find the their friends. Like, where's my friends? And then you see that the light shines, and they're facing the corner. Each one of them is like as if they were little kids, and you're like, what? I guess the creepy thing for me is the not knowing. It's like, why are you doing that? Like what makes you do that? Could it be an enchantment? Roland,
Oh, poor
keep it
Pepper.
down, buddy. No, he's just obnoxious.
He's sad.
Um, no, he's not sad. So all right, so the the next scary story that I have, I heard this story years ago, and I heard it from a truck driver.
Oh, what?
And yeah, I heard this story that I'm about to tell. I heard it from a truck driver.
Oh, okay.
So so he was so one day he was this truck driver. He's like, oh, I was a truck driver for blah 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 this many years. And I was like, damn, you see a lot of weird stuff out there, right? And then he's like, he looks, he's like, I'm gonna tell you a story. I was like, okay.
Oh, jeez.
He's yeah. So then he said, one day I was driving. He said his truck going through, one of those long back roads, right? That just go on and they just go on for a long time. For those of you that are from Idaho or Utah, some of those roads can go for you can even go hours without seeing another vehicle. like at 2 in the morning, pitch black, and you're just driving down these roads. So he says he was driving on the road and he noticed that there was a young girl walking down the road like at 1 or 2 in the morning. So
Ooh.
yeah, so this was he says this. So it was wintertime, and he's like, I need to pick this girl up because there's no, the next gas station is 50 miles that way, you know. So
Oh
so
God.
he stops, right? So he stops, and he says that he sits there in his truck and he waits for her to kind of catch up because she's walking in that direction. And so finally she arrives and he rolls down the window and he yells. He's like, "Hey, get in! I'll drive you somewhere. Where do you
Oh
go? And I'll
God.
drive you to the next stop. Whatever." So he says she gets in and it's got hair that's like covering her face and it's black hair and she doesn't say much and he says, "Where are
Like
you
this
going?" "Yeah,
one?
it was you, you son of a bitch." Um, so
I mean,
so he
I'm not gonna say a
so he's like
word.
so he's like, "So where do you need to go? Do you need me to take you somewhere?" He says that she just like points. So he's like, "All right." So he's driving and he says he's driving this girl down the road and he says that she doesn't say shit. She's quiet. And he's like, "You want to listen to the radio?" And doesn't respond. And he's like,
Oh.
so he's trying to ask the question, did her boyfriend dump her? Like, "That's it. I'm telling you there, Mary Shelley, get the hell out of this vehicle." Like dumped her on the side of the road. He said, something happened, and he doesn't know how to ask because he said, and he's trying to like put an age to her, like how old is she? He says maybe early 20, anywhere from early 20s. He says to even 16 years old because he can't see the face. He just sees her small
Oh.
frame. So, and he turns on the heater. He says so he blasts the heater and he's sweating because she's not wearing any, like a jacket or anything. And this is cold. And for those of you that know, it gets pretty damn cold. So in the wintertime where it snows. So, he's cranking the heater, trying to get her to kind of warm up, he says, because you can see that she's got like goosebumps on her. So he's kind of like trying to make small talk, like with her, and he's driving by and he's blasting the heater and he's sweating because of how hot it is in his cabin. So he's like, damn. He's like, "So, do you have family around here? Do you live around here?" And then she just like shakes her head and then he's like,
Oh God.
"Do you go to school?" It's like, "No." So and he's like asking questions and he's trying like to get her to talk. And so now he's
I would
beginning
kick
to
her out.
wonder. And well, I mean, and I was like,
I'd be like,
why
"Get
did you
this
keep?
over. Get out."
He's like, why did you keep talking to her? And he said he was trying to figure out if she was like maybe in an accident and maybe she's in shock, like maybe she's got a head injury. So he says he's also like looking her up and down, like seeing if there's like blood on her, like there's something, right? Something's not right.
Being a good
So
person.
yeah. So then he says, "This is the part that I tell people." He says, "And people don't believe me or they look at me like I'm crazy." And then I was like, "Well, I'm looking at you like you're crazy now." So so he said that he was like, "You got a name there, darling?" And he's like trying to talk to her, and then she's like, and then he said, she's like, "We've been driving now for 20 minutes, and you still haven't figured out who I am." And then he's
What?
like, "Should I?"
Uh,
And he's like, "She definitely
God.
has a head." So he's like, "She definitely has a head injury, right?" He's like, "She thinks I'm someone else. Maybe she's schizophrenic. Maybe she has a mental disorder." And he's like trying to like, and then she says, "Do you
You
not know?" She's like, "Do you not know who I am?" And he's
fuck
like, "No, who
that.
are you?" And he said
No.
that she gets pretty close to him, and she says, "I'm deaf." And then he's like, "What?" And all of a sudden, he says the truck slides, his black ice. He says the truck slides, and now he's going through the road. And he says that it tips over, and he says he tips the truck. He says tips. He says he had food in the car. He had hot coffee, and he says, and it goes everywhere. He says he feels the burning sensation. like from the coffee that hit him now. And then he says he's sitting there, and all he hears like a hype. And he says, all I heard was the ringing in my ears from the impact. He says,
Oh my God.
and he says that he had on a watch, and the watch had gotten, I guess, somehow it had gotten crushed or something under the weight of something, and it had like cut into his wrist. So he says now he's bleeding. He says, and he's
Mm,
trying to hold on to this, and he says that he's trying to hold on, and he takes off his belt, and then he's kind of like slows down, and he says that his first reaction is to shit. This girl probably flew out the damn window. He said. So he gets out. He
no.
says that he climbs out of the truck. He says it's pitch black. He gets his flashlight, and he's like looking for this girl, and he's looking through the snow, and she's not in the truck, and he's looking around. She's no, and then he's like, I'm gonna find her, like ragdolled somewhere, So he's looking, and he says that he's walking, and he's beginning to get, you know,
Mm,
started to black out because he's bleeding out, right? So he said he doesn't find anybody. He doesn't see any tracks. He doesn't see of any other person. You know. Oh, by the way, he said that she was barefoot when she got in the truck. He says, and that's like one of the first things that he noticed was that she wasn't wearing any shoes. So he says he's looking for this girl, and then he says that he just sits down because he's really exhausted now from doing that. It's a combination of the cold and the blood loss. So he says that he sits
oh my
down,
God.
and then he says, I think I'm just gonna rest my eyes. So then
A bad idea.
he said so then he shuts his eyes. Then he says he wakes up and he's in a hospital. So
I bet.
he's in a hospital. Yeah, he's in a hospital, and he's confused, like what the hell happened, and he says that somebody was driving the opposite direction, and they saw his truck flipped. So they went over there, they saw him, and then they rushed him to the hospital. He says, and he was almost dead. He almost died. So
Wow.
so then he told the story. He's like, did they find the girl? He says, did they find? He's like, what girl? And he says, this whole. He's like, no, like this road stretches out for a long. Like, no, there was no girl. There was no. He says,
Sounds like you picked up a black-eyed kid.
well, of course. So then he said, and that was it. He says that he just, he had to get somebody else to pick up his truck. Had to get a tow, whatever the hell. And he says that he quit driving a truck. He's like, and that's the last time I quit driving a truck.
I
So
would have stopped too.
So then he said that people that he told the story to, like for example, he told the story to the doctor, one of the doctors there, and they're like, what probably happened? He says you probably fell asleep. He says you probably fell asleep and then the truck flipped. That's probably. And he's like, no, this girl was real. I picked her up. He said, and he's trying to tell him like, I was not asleep, or maybe you hallucinated. Did this happen?
Of course, they tell
You
him that.
probably dreamt it? They said, when you hit your head when a truck flipped, and he's like, no,
No.
like so. Anyway,
Wow.
so
That
there's
is
that story.
freaking
And
wild.
the fact that he said that she leaned in close and she says, I am death.
I'm dead.
And then he said that the moment
No.
yeah. And the fact that he said that's she's like, I'm death. Then the truck flips because he hits the ice, you know, and just the
Oh,
timing
yeah,
was just
no, thank you.
so
He
next
should have
time you're
yeeted
picking up,
her out of the truck.
well, I mean, you also need to
I would have.
understand that, well, would you really have, like, if you pick up somebody that, what?
Yeah. Yes, I would. I'd be
That's
like,
a hard
you're
one
being
because
creepy. You're not talking. I'm gonna drop you off right here and I'll call somebody else to come and get your ass.
yeah,
Here's my phone.
drop somebody, drop what? In the middle of nowhere? I'm just gonna leave you here in the pitch black in
Yeah,
the middle of
I would
winter
leave.
with in a place with no cell service?
Yes. If you are
Okay,
being creepy and you're being like, yeah,
but you
no,
know what?
kicking your ass
Because
out.
I asked him these questions. I'm like, and it didn't. He said that she was just so tiny and looked so frail that his sense of danger was nowhere.
Okay.
He's like, I'm
I
250
am a
pounds. He says,
tiny
and I
person. Okay. If
He says,
I if you were to see me on the side of the road with my hair like this telling you I'm deaf, you're telling me that you would pick my ass up and be like, yeah, let's go.
yeah,
You're freaking crazy. I wouldn't pick me up.
yeah, well, that's you. We're built different. Um, no,
You're like,
so
that sucks.
well, I mean that's just like the whole concept. How he was saying that
Oh,
there was Roland. Come on, man. There was no
he's telling
threat
me don't
because
do
it.
it.
So yeah, he says don't pick her up. So
Don't
yeah,
be
he was
dumb.
like I was 250 pounds. He says and I had a gun. So yeah, so
Fair
he
enough.
said he. Well, I mean, geez, like anyway. So moving on. You got another one? Damn, it's already been 40 minutes.
Um, let's see. My grandma's cousin was her death was predicted by a Ouija board.
Whoa.
So the story goes, this is what my mom told me. So they're in this little place in southeastern Idaho called Malad, a little town of like 50 people. Okay, there's probably more, but it's really little. Anyways, guys, so in this place, outside of it somewhere, my family has yet to take me. They said they won't take me, but I will find it one day. It's called the Devil's Staircase. It's somewhere in the mountains outside of Malad. So
Yeah.
my grandma and some of her friends and her cousin decided it would be a good idea to take a Ouija board to the Devil's Staircase and play with the Ouija board. It's back in like 50s, 60s. That's what they did for fun back then. So they get to this place, they're playing with the board and stuff. And in my head, when you're playing with a Ouija board, you probably shouldn't ask it how or when you're gonna die. It's just no. Well, they asked it anyway. My grandma's cousin asked when she was gonna die. So it did the date, and the date was actually that date. It didn't say the year, and it didn't say like, if it was going to be in the future, or if it was going to be soon. Like, no, just said the date. So they made a mistake when playing with this Ouija board. They did
Hmm.
not tell the board goodbye.
Okay, they didn't close it out.
Okay.
Or
They did not
for
close it
those
out
of you,
whatsoever.
yeah.
Yeah. For those of you who have
So
never played with the Ouija board, you always tell the board goodbye. Do not leave it open. Please don't leave it
because
open.
there's a belief system that you open a door, so the door's
Hmm.
open, and
And you
if you
just
don't
left
say
it open.
goodbye, a lot of things can
Yeah,
come through. So you
exactly.
so by
So,
saying goodbye or closing it out, you're literally closing the door.
exactly. Well, they did not close the door. So they're driving back to town, if you can call it town.
So
And- really? Anyways, they're driving back to town and they get into a car accident. Everybody escaped this car accident with minor cuts and bruises, except my grandma's cousin. I believe she was wearing a seatbelt. I could be wrong, but she was the only one ejected from the vehicle, and she's the only one that passed in that accident. Everybody else
oh
was perfectly fine.
oh damn.
So we believe the Ouija board predicted her death.
Wow, that's jeez, not
Is
even
that not
predicted, but
freaking messed up?
yeah, that's a crazy story. I mean, it's also a great warning. Um,
Well, yeah, just, people need to be smarter with the Ouija board.
yeah, like if you
You can't leave it open.
if well, yeah, also, but I mean, if you don't know the rules, then why play, right?
Ex- yeah. I know
Um,
a couple of people that have told me, "Oh yeah, I played with one, but I didn't tell it goodbye." It's like, oh my God,
what are your
why?
beliefs when it comes to people that do shit like that? Why are you laying all weird, cat? Um, What are your
Something.
beliefs with people that people that are like, well, I played with the Ouija board, I didn't close it out, but I'm fine. I just had horrible luck, throughout. Like, do you think that that's like the main cause? Like,
I don't think it's a main cause, but I think it's a contributor
hmm,
because it's kind
yeah,
of it it's events that lead up to that bad luck. Like what event led up to that? Could it have turned out differently if you would have closed out that board? Could that have turned out a little bit differently for you? Like think you just gotta people don't think about that shit.
yeah. Damn, there was a movie out there. It was called Ouija. Not
That's a
the
great
not.
movie.
I was gonna say
Are
not the
you
one
talking
that's
about the
from.
one with the blonde girl? The little blonde girl?
No, 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 no. The
Damn
the
it.
one the Ouija. No, the one Ouija I'm talking about is like from 1991. It's like a.
No, I have not seen it.
It's like an older. It's pretty good. Anyway, so have you ever encountered or heard the voice of a loved one? You know, and then you go out and you're like trying to like saying like, "Whoa, what do you want?" And then you know what I'm saying? Okay,
Wait, what?
okay. Let me tell you a story, and then you kind of
Creepy. Yeah.
okay. So
Okay.
all right. So when I was younger, I think I
A wee lad.
was what?
A wee lad.
When I was a little lad, anyways, I said, "Look at this. It's disgusting." So look at you with your wee little blouse. So when I was a younger man, I was walking outside, and this was nighttime. So how old was I? I think I was like 12, 10 or probably 11 or 12. So in in El Salvador, you don't have sinks. Like there's no sinks like in the house. There's no running water. Um, so you have what's yeah, there's no running water. Um,
I
the
can't
water
process.
will connect
Go
to
on.
the what?
I can't process, but go on.
So, like for example, the way that you do dishes, the way that you wash your clothes, the way that you do all these things is through something. Roland, come on, man, you know better. Is through something called a pila, and what a pila is like this concrete thing that in the center there's a big like square, and it's made out of concrete, and you fill that up with water, and on the sides you have like these and it's sloped and there's a hole, so then you can put one of them used for dishes, the other one you use for clothes. So you just put it there, you grab a bowl, you grab the water from the center and you pour it onto the clothes or to the dishes that you're washing, and then that water runs off through that. That's how you do things. Okay. So
Hmm.
you guys Google pila El Salvador, and then you'll see like what I'm talking about. You can even use YouTube and kind of look it up. Anyway, so
Wow.
and that's outside of the house, right? And a lot of the times you want that, like
So if
I
you
don't know,
wanted
like
a
maybe,
drink of water at night, you have to go outside?
well, yeah, or you have bottled water. You can't drink water from standing water because there's mosquito larvae in it. Bottled water. So
Uh-huh. I like bottled
yeah,
water.
so
That works. Go on.
yeah, so there you go. Anyway, so you want it 20 feet away from the house because of mosquito larvae, like I said, and mosquitoes in that area. You don't want them like near the house because that's how you get sick. So anyway, so I go outside to get some water, and because I'm washing something, I don't remember what it was. So I go outside, and then I see my dad, and he's like in the like right by it, and he's like, "Veni," he's like, "Come on." So I was like, "Oh, all right. Where are we going now? Let me just get my shoes on, well, my boots." So then I quickly run to the entrance of the door. I get my boots on, and I'm making sure that he can still see me, and he's still standing there. I was like, all right. So he like waves me over, and he's like, come on. So then I go and I'm following him, like, and we're going through the crops, like through the and he he's not talking to me, And I'm like, where are we going? What's going on? Like, should I go back and should I get, a stick? Should I get something, right? So I'm uh I'm following him through these things, and finally I'm like, what the hell is going on? So all of a sudden I can no longer see him. I was like, did he go back to the hat? Like, what the hell? So then I was like, all right. So then I turn around and I have my flashlight and I'm retracing the steps because I'm like, I lost my dad in the darkness. I'm like, damn it, because he's quick footed. Like, if you're not. So then I go back to the house and I'm like, where? I guess I'll just wait for him here. He's going to be pissed that I didn't keep up. So then I go and I just hear my dad snoring in his room.
What?
Yep,
God.
he was never outside.
What? You basically saw a mimic?
Yeah, or a bruja, a witch.
Wow. That's pretty fucking cool.
So then I tell that
I like
story.
how I'm
Well,
taking like a scary experience of yours though and saying it's really cool.
so it's that, and what's interesting is I look back at these kind of stuff, and I'm like, did that really happen? Did I dream that? Was I sick? That that.
Mm.
So just I have all these.
Uh,
You know what
have
I
you
mean?
asked your dad?
Well, he was sleeping.
Well, like other stories, have you asked him if you're remembering it right?
So okay. So one of the rules is if someone if you hear what they call if the wind picks up a voice, you know, that's just what they're saying.
Okay.
Okay, and they say el norte. Si el norte recoge una palabra, if the wind picks up a word or picks up it's just whatever. Don't
Yeah,
follow it, right? They say don't follow it.
kind of like
If somebody
Appalachian
calls,
Mountain.
I don't. Oh, he is. You're gonna get in trouble.
He just yelled at you.
I know. Roland, come on,
Get him,
man.
Roland. Get him.
Don't
Oh,
encourage him.
sorry, I was
So,
encouraging the dog, not you.
yeah.
Good boy.
No, don't do that. It's like somebody's not gonna get a treat when it comes to treat time tonight. So anyway, they say if
I'd
you
give
do
him a
that,
treat.
don't ever follow it. He says because it's not them. So that's like one of the stuff. That's what they tell little kids because a lot of the times the stories go that these whatever it is will call kids into the darkness and children that either take form of their parents or a brother or sister, whatever it is, to get them away from the
Ugh.
house and they're never seen again. So
So kind of like
that's
La Llorona too.
yeah, a little bit, I guess. Maybe
Is
depends on the lore,
in a
but
way.
I yeah, damn. Oh, so it looks like time is up for this episode. So thank you guys for joining us. This was cool.
Can we bring Roland on real fast?
No,
Why? Please?
next time
Why do you have to exclude him?
because he's old, he's dumb. Anyway,
Stop.
so
My cat's young and dumb and she has orange cat problems.
all
She
right.
jumps at nothing.
Well, well,
Fine.
all right, guys. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. Like and subscribe, share the show. You guys can head on over to the link tree and you guys can look at the merch. You guys can look at the sponsors of the show. You guys can, you know, drop a comments, do all those kind of things. So that's it.
Yeah,
Remember, guys. Yeah, that's right. So to
yeah.
always look both ways, especially if you find yourselves on Nightmare Road.
Okay, Ray.
Oh, jeez.
Did it end? I don't think it ended.